Hello, I'm Dr. Terry James Gingrass, and this is Dr. G's ADHD Chat. And I am a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist. I am also the parent of two ADHD kids, and I'm married into an ADHD family. So I have both theoretical and practical and applied experience with ADHD. Today we're going to talk about something that is not currently part of the diagnostic system, but I suspect it will be shortly. This is a thing called RSD, or Rejection Sensitive Dysphoria. Okay, that is probably the thing that concerns most parents of an ADHD child. And my audio engineer says we're on live. That's good. Okay, the thing that about a rejection sensitive dysphoria is it leads to all these exaggerated emotion, the temper tantrums and so on that scare people. I have had a number of parents, write in and say, "Oh, the temper tantrums, that was the worst thing." As a matter of fact, the show I did on temper tantrums was one of the more popular ones that I've done. But it's rejection sensitive dysphoria it's not in the diagnostic and statistical manual yet, but virtually everybody who works with ADHD uses the terminology. And basically what it is an intense and exaggerated emotional reaction to perceived rejection, slights, criticism. Okay. And we're talking hair trigger here. Something you don't think is any big deal, just, they fall apart. Your ADHD will fall apart. It's possibly, like I said, it's not yet technically part of the diagnostic system, so there isn't a whole heck of a lot of research on it. There's some notion, well, ADHD is genetic, has a lot of genetic components to it. Maybe this is part of it as well, or it may be as simple as I usually say in every show, the average ADHD child gets 70 critical comments, responses a day. And that level of criticism likely increases your sensitivity to it. There's a couple of complications. One is the shorthand is RSD, because who the heck wants to say rejection sensitive dysphoria all the time? The other problem is that there is another RSD out there that is a neurologic condition, and it is characterized by difficulties with the system in your body that keeps your hands warm and so on. And folks who have this, usually after some relatively minor injury, like getting run over by a grocery cart or something like that, all of a sudden their leg will get really intensely cold, and then sometimes it'll get intensely hot, and then other times it'll swell up real big. The human body is a really complicated series of a combination of mechanisms that we consider to be, this is normal. Okay, well, the deal is there's a lot to that, and the automatic systems that you don't even think about it. My hands are a little cold, but I just had them in cold water. It's not that my internal regulator is on the fritz. But anyway, so RSD can be, if you're talking to a neurologist, he's going to think of something different than anything to do with ADHD. So anyway, rejection sensitive dysphoria. I'm sorry. The other RSD is reflex sympathetic dystrophy. Isn't that easier to separate now? Okay, so it's caused by any perceived rejection. It's always an exaggerated response. It's explosive. These kids go off like a grenade. They're And that scares some people. My part of the country where I grew up, New England, not so much. But the other thing is that it doesn't take a huge amount of criticism or even negative comments, correcting them, uh, blaming them for something, that sort of. It doesn't take a whole lot of that to get a really strong reaction. Now, in some parts of the world, uh, we have what's called ranking or ragging. This probably has some other terms too, but it's just, you make fun of people, and that's how you show that you're friends. And it may be primitive and potentially hurtful, but you don't want to be doing it with one of these kids because they will go off like a firecracker. And it's they don't have a lot of control over it, and it takes a while. You could be calming them down for a while before they're finally back to normal. So as you can imagine, this can cause difficulties in most relationships, social and otherwise. People have lost jobs because of this. People have gotten divorced because of this. And I can remember some guy made an appointment and wanted to know about RSD. Well, I'm in my office. I'm a neuropsychologist. I do a lot of neurologic workups. And I said, "You mean rejection sensitive dysphoria?" And God, he got so angry. He was, and of course, then he was on the attack. "You don't know what you're talking about." And we finally got it calmed down. And I said, look, there's more than one RSD in the world, and we started off on the wrong foot, but it's not that big a deal. But we both decided, well, actually, I decided that we probably shouldn't work together. That would not probably be the best thing for us. We would have a hard time, repairing the relationship just based on his, going off on the first 5 minutes after meeting me. So, and that happens to a lot of these folks, and they don't really mean to be nasty and antisocial and so on, but that tends to be the effect. So it's really bad for your relationships. And of course, if you try that with a boss or a coworker, and almost any environment you can imagine, it's going to be a big issue. I mean, it's a problem. And you want to know, well, okay, some of the symptoms of RSD. First of all, it's usually, believe it or not, RSD people are people pleasers. They really want to, do, get some praise and get some acceptance and do things for people and da 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 da. But they're always expecting rejection. They're always expecting to the best out of any social situation. If you say you want them to come into your office and for a little chat, they assume that you're going to fire them, and or that you want to complain about them or da 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 da. So, and they have real low self-esteem, extreme self-talk. When you hear them talking to themselves, it's always, you screwed up again. What's the matter with you? Why can't you do anything right? And so on. And usually, when they react, it's with anger. But a lot of times it's with extreme sadness, because you can imagine this is a complicated way to live. Having everybody think you're angry and da 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 da. And the negative emotions, they're so sensitive that it's almost like they've actually had a physical injury. They feel it that much. And like I said before, they don't have good control over this, over their emotions. Once they get fired up, it's hard. It takes them a while to slow down. And when you're always on the alert, always looking for is this person gonna be mad at me? Is this person gonna not like me? Is this person da 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 da? Uh, that's very draining, and so they find relationships just a huge problem, and a lot of times they avoid getting in any close relationships just because they're afraid folks won't like them, and once they get to know the real me, it's all over anyway. It's not, nobody's gonna. So that leads to just a lot of social interaction being denied, being not participating in. Just it's safer to not get involved. That's all there is. And then the flip side of that is that they try to be perfect, try to be extra good. And of course, most of the time when you're trying to not make mistakes, you make more mistakes. And they get so focused on this that even neutral responses sometimes are interpreted as being negative. They don't. Oh, he was angry. Couldn't you tell he was angry? Well, no, he didn't sound angry to me. But these people will have huge problems in any kind of social interaction, and we are social animals. So it's like even if you're working from home, you're on Zoom all the time, and they just don't do well with that kind of situation. They tend to avoid it. They are socially crippled basically because they're so always on guard. And being on guard all the time takes a heck of a lot of energy, and it leaves you not having much left for actually getting the job done, or trying to make the most you can out of your life, or wherever you're going. So treatments, well, okay, a lot of times the same medications that treat ADHD, methylphenidate and so on, will help with this, will help with the RSD. That's, like I said, it's a new thing. It's not part of the diagnostic categories. It's not well researched, but it does seem to be helpful. And other things that are helpful are psychotherapy and coaching, of course. I think I talked about coaching some last time. Coaching is seems to be one of the main components of treating for ADHD. Everybody seems to go that way, that coaching is important. And I think, frankly, I'm kind of a fan of coaching. I think I made that clear last time, that coaching it's where psychology is going. But it's the whole positive psychology movement, which, if you're not a psychologist, you may not have heard of it, but basically it's the whole idea that we don't have to just get people out of disability. We can get them to perform at their highest potential. Back when I was just a lad, it was, the human potential movement. And then now it's positive psychology, but the idea is the same. Okay, why should we be satisfied with just being normal when we can be above average, when we can live up to all we are capable of. That is a somewhat, that's a grand plan, and I'm on board with it. But it takes a lot of work, and there's some balances you have to have. If you're always striving, you got to take care of yourself somewhere in there. And most of the programs now that emphasize positive psychology also emphasize basic health care and exercise and diet and all that stuff as a component of living up to your potential. If you're 400 pounds overweight, you're not going to live up to your potential. There's no way. You have to take care of everything: your body, your mind, your aspirations, all those sorts of things. And that's one of the things that coaching is a lot more open to than most of the traditional forms of psychotherapy. That will probably change in the future, but right now that's the way it is, I think. So as the parent of an ADHD child, probably, or as an ADHDer yourself, I hope this is explanatory, because I remember, my kids were little way back before ADHD was even a formal diagnosis. So I had a lot of what in the heck is going on experiences with my kids, especially my youngest. He would go off in these, I call them temper tantrums. I guess now I would have to call them RSD episodes. That it was, if you didn't do exactly things the way he wanted them done, he'd just fall apart. And that was, well, that was a difficult period for me as a parent. And it's even worse when you're a psychologist. You're supposed to know what's going on, and we didn't know what was going on because nobody knew what was going on. That was a hard time back in those days. Okay, so that's reflex. I'm sorry, I knew I was going to do that someday time in this. Rejection sensitive dysphoria. That's the kind of RSD that you get with ADHD. And that's that's what it's called, when they're going off like that, like a hand grenade with a loose pin or something. I've never handled a hand grenade, okay? But the best treatment, is, first of all, for you as a parent, you have to control yourself. You can't go off because he goes off or she goes off. You've got to, and I know that is not easy, especially if you're the ADHD parent who has ADHD, him or herself. That's a real hard thing to work in. And if you don't know how to do that, then you maybe would be best off leaving the situation and letting your spouse handle things, presupposing your spouse is better able to stay calm in situations like this. Because nothing about you losing control of yourself is going to help your child who's already lost control of him or herself. You just can't. It just potentiates, and you get two people who are having an explosion, which makes for a very loud household. So you need to do what you can do to stay calm. And one of the things you need to do, and if you're not doing it now, you should be. You should learn how to, what do you want to call it, meditate, use relaxation training, use self-hypnosis, even get a biofeedback machine, and but you have to, you can control your emotional arousal level. You've got to work at it, though. It's a skill. It's not something you develop naturally, or at least most people don't. You have to work at it some. And even some of the people who seem to have come by it naturally were working on it. They just didn't know exactly what they were doing, and that somehow they made it work. But you have to learn how to control yourself, how to calm yourself. You have to, first of all, you have to accept that you're in control of your emotions. Okay? I'm making it sound like, there's no control, but you are in control of your emotions. If your hair triggered, okay, then once you've gone off, you've got to get back down to normal. You've got to relax yourself. You've got to calm yourself. Okay. I am Dr. Terry James Gingras. This has been Dr. G's ADHD Chat. This is the show designed to make the world safe for ADHDers. Write me, leave comments. Let me know what you're thinking about, worried about, trying to deal with. And I'll be glad to. I'll respond, and I will make it part of a new show. Okay. And by the way, if you have some ideas for shows you'd like to see me do, fire away. I've been doing this. I've been doing this for about 10 years now. Most of you probably haven't caught up with me for that long, but probably there are some who have. So that's a lot of shows once a week. Wow. I just thought that's about 500 shows, isn't it? Okay. Anyway, my website is terrygingrasphd.com. You can sign up for coaching evaluation session. That's a freebie. See if we should work together or can work together. That's mostly what I'm doing nowadays is coaching, and I kind of like it. Okay, so we will catch you next time.